Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest, Chapter 87. When we last left our heroes, Team Natsu headed to Black Moon Mountain to stop Selene, which will hopefully stop the overflowing magic power in Elantir. The Grand White Priestess gave this big, genuinely like a little emotional speech to the Whiteout villagers, asserting their need to stand strong, to not panic, to be there, to fight against the excess magic once Selene is gone. And then we get a little bit of Wendy sort of continuing her connections between the hands and face. And then we come to Suzaku and Selene. We learn that it was actually George who killed Kurnugi. We also learned that Kurnugi was Selene's son, which explains her rage at Suzaku's whole existence. But Suzaku uses a new attack titled Abyss that comes from himself and not from Kurnugi, which seemingly deals a lethal blow to Selene. It will almost certainly not work. But we see Selene trying to cast an Aqua Era to escape. Natsu is on his way to the mountaintop. And yeah, that's kind of where we all left off last time. So let's jump right on into Chapter 87, An Unsightly World. And our picture here is of Lucy and it looks like Lisana at the beach, diving for like a flag or something. A smile that bursts with shining sweat. This summer will never end. And so we open back with Natsu and Happy running towards the mountaintop. Happy calls, "We're here, Natsu." "Thanks, Happy." And Happy calls, "Over there." And he sees just in time Selene slinking off in the Aqua Era to some other world. Selene? And Suzaku chases after her. Suzaku too! And then Aqua Era vanishes, leaving. And as we've kind of seen though, neither Toka nor Ferris quite have the ability with everything going on in the world to really use an effective Aqua Era at the moment. So it A, shows Selene's power, and B, even if they knew where the two of them were going, they wouldn't really have the ability to get there. So I have no idea how they're getting out of this. And then we come to Black Moon Mountain. It's a weird thing. We've been on Black Moon Mountain, but now we have this sort of establishing shot with like the location information off to the side. I do like though, we see the hands rising out of the mountain in silhouette. It's really creepy when you look at it like that. Natsu looks around. Suzaku and Selene disappeared. And Happy, this feeling. They moved to another world. For a second I was a little bit confused, like when Happy got the ability to like sense magic. But I guess Selene's power is just so powerful that anyone can sense it. And with Selene, and he's not so much feeling the transfer of power to another world, but just the absence of Selene on this one. Anyway, Natsu looks out over the landscape, hands everywhere. And Natsu says to himself, Selene's not in this world. The magic power is still going haywire. And Happy responds, Selene might have started it, but I'm thinking that once it started going crazy, it'll keep overflowing whether Selene's here or not. So the question there is, now that Selene is gone, has it lowered enough that the Whiteout village can, like, actually do something about it? Or was the Whiteout village's plan like never going to work and they were always kind of in this shitty situation where they could not really stop the apocalypse? I don't know. It's fairy tale, so they definitely can stop the apocalypse somehow, but it might end up being more tied in with might end up being more tied in with whatever the hell Wendy's doing. Either way, Natsu's mad. What do we do now? For now, let's go back to where the others are. Alright. Happy's just really mad. Or Natsu's really mad. But we still missed out on Selene. What are we going to do about our job? And Happy's just like, we should worry more about what's happening right now. And we change scenes, and we see the hands are just wreaking havoc. Happy is absolutely right to be more focused on the current apocalypse. And Natsu and Happy arrive back to the rest of the gang. So basically, we're back. And Gray yells, "Where the hell did you go?" But Erza calls Natsu. And Lucy's more focused on the important question here. What about Selene? And Happy explains about that. She and Suzaku went to another world. And Toka's a bit more nervous now. Even so, why is the rampage not stopped? And we see, another shot of a hand and the Sumayaka dripping off the fingernails, creating more monsters. Gray reacts. The monsters are multiplying one after another. And Erza, there's no end to them. And Wendy is up with the hand, getting a feel for it. This condensation of ether nano from the magic flow. There's no doubt about it. And she calls back, please try to think back, everybody, to Tartaros' face. So there's one thing I want to kind of point out, is the condensation of ether nano. Because I thought that in Elantir, they had Superior, right? I seem to recall just, ether nano not really being a thing in this world. And that's why, or I guess it kind of is, because they still can use magic. Their normal magic. They don't have to use spiritual arts. It's just that spiritual arts are more effective, I think. I might have to go back and reread the beginning of this arc, because it has been a little while since we've really talked about Superior. Either way, there apparently is ether nano, because it's inside the hand. Think back, everybody. Tartaros' face. And Natsu reacts, face? And Lucy, that council weapon? And Wendy explains, I did some research on it after the incident, about how so many weapons could be moved. And Erza kind of states, Tartaros had something like a startup device. And Gray presses, you don't think these hands are being moved artificially too? But Wendy continues, no. That is where it's different from face. That and how they increase and decrease magic power. Because the hands are the expression of magic power, and face was like a pulse bomb. The question that I kind of have, though, is that I didn't think that face was ever moved. I thought that we just thought that face was just in one location, and then there's that big twist where Wendy looks out and there are hundreds of faces across the continent, only stopped by the arrival of Grandine and Metallicana. Though it's been a very long time since I read Tartaros. I might be slightly misremembering some details there, but I don't recall them being moved. Anyway, Natsu's kind of confused. I don't get a word you're saying, Wendy. And Carlos shuts him up. Just shut your mouth and listen. And Wendy explains, face and the hands are different things, but their structure is the same. And Happy looks up. Structure? At first glance, the hands look like they're extending from the ground in different places. But in reality, they should all be connected underground. The same goes for face. Okay, so the face was connected to each other. I don't think that was ever explained. Which would explain why Wendy has to kind of jump in, the same goes for face, because we just wouldn't really know that. But yeah, if that's the case, there must be a source somewhere underground they can deal with before they had to go fight Selene. And Carla responds, there's no doubt about that from the flow of magic power. And Toka is still a little bit confused. So if they're all connected, what do we do? And Natsu has put the pieces together. Isn't it obvious? And we see Lucy, Erza, and Gray all with the same kind of devilish grin. Happy's also just raring to go. As the whole gang gets together, we attack the main body! If this page were formatted a little differently, this would 100% be our thumbnail for the video. Unfortunately, it's just way too vertical. But suffice it to say, I love this page. The whole gang is just so raring to go. They want to do that fairy tale thing and blow some shit up. You love to see it. You just the big grins on all their faces. Their determination amidst all of their cuts and bruises and injuries they've sustained over the past arc. It's great. You love to see it. Anyway, Lucy goes on the attack first. Open, Gate of the Maiden, Virgo. Oh, right, because Virgo can dig. And Virgo tells her, Princess, I have heard the situation. That I would be punished if we could not reach the main body, evidently. And Lucy snaps at her, were you really listening? But Virgo goes in for a dive. Please leave it to me. As she starts digging towards the main body. And Natsu just jumps all in. Let's go! But Gray calls out to the Exceeds. Happy, Carla, get Toka somewhere safe. And Toka protests, but Happy stops her. It's alright. Natsu and the others can handle it. And we see Natsu behind Virgo as she's digging the tunnel, with Erza behind him. I wonder if this is the right direction. But Virgo tells them, I am headed towards the flow of magic power. And then Natsu says to Virgo, by the way, I can totally see your underwear. Oh dear. Natsu gets on to him. Come on, Natsu, don't do that. And Gray's behind her and kind of blushes. I can totally see yours too, you know. Which I guess might count as a moment for, like, Grey-Lu shippers, if they're still really a thing. I know there was a small Grey-Lu community at one point. I guess it might count. Whatever. I'm not, so normally, you know, I've complained especially in the recent Eden Zero chapters about an overabundance of fan service, especially with the lost card subplot and Rebecca's disappearing clothing. I will say, as much as I'm not a fan of, oh hey, the boys can look up the girls' skirt subplots, I'm glad that we can't, which is a small boon, I'll say. Anyway, we see them, you know, digging between the roots of the hands. It's a really neat visual there. Until they finally break through. Virgo kind of breaks through to the main body, I guess. Oh? And everyone falls in behind her, hits the ground, underground. And Lucy gets up and looks around. There's a cave down here. And Wendy points out, look over there. It's part of a hand. So yeah, there still is, like, very mini hands there. They seem kind of like baby hands. But Gray takes it in a different route. You mean we gotta keep going down? But Erza disagrees. No, this magic power. And Natsu reacts, something's coming from below. And there's this explosion of dirt around them as something is emerging, probably a new hand to attack the surface. Shocking Natsu, Lucy, Gray, Erza, Wendy. The rubble falls around them. And we get our shot of whatever is creating this. Okay. It looks vaguely reminiscent of Face, ironically enough. At least the face of it does, not the rest of it. Not the writhing mass of a body behind it. It looks, I will say this much, it looks fucking cool. Like, that's our thumbnail right there. You know, you have Team Natsu look like ants in front of this giant monster that's exploded from the ground. And Lucy kind of panics. What is this? And Erza, a monster? But Gray, it's way too big. But Wendy tries to, like, rouse them together. If we defeat it, and Natsu jumps in, we can stop its magic power. But we see the thoughts of the monster. This unseemly world. Come flowing out, evil light. Fill the world with evil. That's where our title comes from. An unsightly world, unseemly world. Yeah, close enough. It starts to open its eyes as this, I guess, evil light emanates from it. Destroy it. Oh no, it's speaking! Because Lucy reacts. It's speaking? Natsu questions it. Did you intend this recklessness? I don't think recklessness is the kind of thing you get to criticize someone for, Natsu, after everything you've done in your lifetime. But the monster continues, this unseemly world. I am Alta Face, the source of magical power in this unsightly world. The magical power the moon dragon distorted gave me free will to destroy this world by filling it with magical power. Okay. And Erza kind of snaps, the moon dragon. Does that refer to Selene? And Gray just kind of sighs. There's no satisfying her, is there? And Natsu just stares Alta Face down. We're gonna stop you. And that's where it ends. Okay, so this chapter took the arc in a route I was 100% not expecting it to go. I was expecting, you know, Selene would be the main fight. Someone in the comments of the last video mentioned maybe Selene mentioned something about a nice distortion when she mentioned being killed by Carnegie's sword, so that maybe Selene would, like, made a fake timeline where she died and she would turn out to be A-okay. I might have also compared that kind of concept to the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX duel with Fubuki versus Yusuke, if you've seen that series. If not, you should see that series. Yu-Gi-Oh! GX is a riot. But enough of that tangent. But apparently that's not the case. I thought that it would be, Natsu's a rival, and now is Natsu and Suzaku maybe versus Selene, but Suzaku is still basically dead. We see, Suzaku was like so weak chasing after her. He's gonna chase after her, but he can't really walk straight at this point. But anyway, that does not turn out to be the case, as Selene just kind of escapes. And so Natsu has to go back to the gang and sort of say, so Selene got away. But with that, we then finally get the conclusion of Wendy sort of her thinking on Face and the hands and everything, how it all comes together. In that, in this research she's done off screen, which it would have been nice if we had somehow learned about that in advance, so that we could have possibly predicted this. But either way, nice to see Wendy she's so kind of obsessed with the Face incident that she's kept that on her mind for the past couple of years, which is a nice little bit of character work, especially knowing how much Wendy in particular was affected by Face, as she did, 100% intend to sacrifice her life to stop the one Face bomb, only being saved by Mest in the end. But yeah, we kind of get her conclusion is that all of the hands are connected. And what they're connected to, we learn with horrifying clarity, is this monster, Alta Face. And the fact that his name is Face cannot just be a coincidence. There has to be an even greater connection to Face than what Wendy initially assumed. I don't know, maybe somehow the image of him crossed over to Earthland and inspired Face somehow? But that doesn't quite explain how he's the inverse of Face. That Face stops magic, and he is the, he increases magic to a world's, boiling point. But yeah, it's a fucking cool design. I don't know what fighting him is even going to be like, given that he's got a face, and then all of his limbs and things are, headed up towards the surface world. I have no idea what that even would look like. It's just really cool. He looks really cool. That's the important thing. And yeah, I can't wait to see where Alta Face goes. I genuinely have no idea how this is all going to shake up. What's happening now. This is a chapter that was 100% not what I was expecting at all. And it's, at this point, pretty rare that Mashima can do something like that. And you know what? I'd love to see it. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave this video up here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!